We are glad to see you again on our channel. Today we have a recap of the movie from the world of fiction Morbius of year 2022. Sit comfortably and enjoy watching. Since childhood, Dr. Michael Morbius has suffered from a rare blood disorder, and he has devoted his entire life to finding a cure. At some point, he discovers that there may be salvation in the blood of bats, and decides to undertake a risky experiment. However, the experience evokes an unexpected reaction, turning Dr. Michael Morbius into a bloodthirsty monster. Now the guy needs to decide what to do next so he doesn't hurt the people around him. Costa Rica. Dr. Michael Morbius takes a helicopter to the cave. The pilot tells him to get out before dark. Dr. Michael Morbius says to set a trap at the entrance of the cave. He says that the vampire bats themselves weigh almost nothing, but they can kill the creature more than themselves, which is surprising. The man asks Michael what he has for the bait and asks him to pay them before the sun sets. Michael gives the man money, but asks for his knife. He cuts himself on his arm and puts the palm forward. A huge number of bats, sensing blood, begin to fly out of the cave. The men run to the helicopter. Greece, 25 years ago. Michael plays chess. The boy suffers from blood disease and is in an institution under the supervision of Dr. Emil Nicholas. Michael sees through the window that another boy, Milo, is brought to the institution with the same disease. Dr. Emil Nicholas introduces the boys and says that Michael knows more about the institution than the doctor does. Michael tells Milo that he will call him like that because he called this way all the boys before him. Mikkel says that there is no cure and that there is something missing in their DNA as pieces of a puzzle, and until the doctors find it, the only way to survive is to transfuse blood 3 times a day. The boys from school in the courtyard point their fingers at the children's window and laugh. Mikhail says that, when they have a break, it is better not to go outside. Milo becomes ill, and Michael repairs the machine to save him. Dr. Emil says that a team of scientists built the equipment, and Michael fixed it with a ballpoint pen, or rather a spring from it. Dr. Emil says that there is a school for gifted children in New York City, and that he may try to persuade them to pay for the boy's education. He says the boy has a gift, and it can't be lost. Michael writes a letter to Milo saying that one day he will find a cure for them. Milo reads the letter sitting by the window and it flies outside. Milo goes into the yard. He asks the schoolboys to return the letter, but they begin to mock Milo and kick him. Dr. Emil chases the boys away. Milo lashes out at one of them in a fit of rage. Michael is said to have a doctorate at age 19 and to have established himself as a leading specialist in hemocontact infections. His development of artificial blood has saved many lives. The King of Sweden personally presents Michael with the award. The girl Anna in hospital room tells Michael that he has insulted the King of Sweden and everyone else. Martine Bancroft approaches Michael and calls him. Michael leaves the girl an origami figure. Martine Bancroft reads Michael's words that he cannot accept the reward for a byproduct of his failed experiment. Michael refused the Nobel Prize. Martine scolds the man and says that he should stay in the world and he does not feel sorry for himself. She asks if Milo knows that Michael is mixing DNA with a bat. Martine approaches a large glass flask with a huge number of bats. Michael says that bats are the only mammals on the earth that have evolved to feed on blood, and to do that, they secrete a unique anticoagulant in their saliva. Martine says that if the guy can embed bat DNA, he can also produce anticoagulant. Michael says that mixing different species is already inherent in humans. Viruses already inject acid into human bodies. He is convinced that it is necessary to push the boundaries and take risks. Michael injects the drug into the rat and looks at its reaction. He tells Martine that he should have died a long time ago, and is alive to fix everything, save Milo and all the sick. The nurse calls Michael and says that Anna is bad. Michael injects the girl with the medication. Martine shows the man a rat and says it worked. Michael comes to Milo. Dr. Emil Nicholas puts him a drip. Michael tells a friend that he makes his short life even shorter. He invites a friend for a walk, saying he has good news. Milo asks Michael about Martine and asks his friend not to fall in love. Michael tells Milo that he is close to a cure. Michael says that it is highly experimental and ethically questionable, and also very expensive and not entirely legal. And everything needs to be done in neutral waters. Milo clarifies whether it is dangerous. Michael says that they have little time and this is their last chance. On a ship in neutral waters, Michael and Martine test the drug. Martine injects the drug into Michael's spinal cord. She puts sensors on the man and ties him to the chair. The man from the ship enters Martine. Michael turns into a bat and sits on the ceiling. The man starts shooting at him. Michael kills the man. The alarm goes off and Michael starts banging his head against the walls. The rest of the workers with guns enter the room. One of them pushes Martine and she loses consciousness. Michael breaks the glass and jumps out. He attacks men and takes all their lives away. Michael becomes a human again. He looks in the mirror at his body, which has become strong and muscular. Michael covers Martine and watches the videotape of what he did. He requests evacuation for the ship. Then the man takes the cure and jumps into the water. Agent Simon Stroud and Agent Rodriguez arrive on the ship. Rodriguez says that there are 8 bodies, and apparently they were purchased in the same store for mercenaries. He says all the bodies are bloodless. Milo is watching the news about the dead on the ship. Dr. Emil asks him what happened and how much it hurts the guy today. Michael neatly comes to the hospital to Martine, who is unconscious. He says that the girl will recover. Michael comes to his lab and drinks a bag of artificial blood. He realizes that he has an unquenchable thirst for blood. In some things, he became much better. He felt good for the first time. He can run at great speed, jump. It seems like he can fly. In the first minutes after the injection, Michael's vitals were very high, and he had the body of a professional athlete, superhuman strength and speed. Michael quietly enters the bulb with the bats, and they take him for their own. Michael also developed echolocation ability, but all these states are not long-term. Artificial blood allows Michael to maintain stability for 6 hours, but this time is shrinking. Michael enters a private room behind glass for an experiment. He wants to know what will happen if he doesn't take blood. He thinks that eventually the organs will shut down and the disease will return twice as bad. Milo arrives at Michael's lab and sees him behind glass. He brings his friend artificial blood. Michael drinks it and says he has made a terrible mistake. Milo just asks for a cure. Michael says he can't because he can't control it. Milo gets angry and says that the friend will live and he will die. Michael says it's a curse and asks his friend to leave, and then starts kicking him out. Agent Simon Stroud and Agent Rodriguez come to Martine Ward. They show her pictures of the bodies from the ship. Martine says that it is difficult enough for her to remember what was on the ship. Simon leaves the girl a card, and the agents leave. The woman in the hospital is attacked and killed at night. The next morning, Michael learns of the accident. He takes all the artificial blood from the refrigerator and leaves. Agent Simon Stroud and Agent Rodriguez are featured outside the building. They ask Michael a few questions first, and then they say he should go with them. Michael knocks them down and runs off to the roof. Simon points a gun at him and arrests the guy. Michael makes notes in prison that in this scenario, artificial blood will stop working in a matter of days. Simon and Rodriguez come to Michael and say that a figure of origami was found near the bodies on the ship. They say they don't care much for mercenaries, but that the woman in the hospital was a single mother with children. Michael goes through withdrawal. He tells the agents about the bag of fake blood, but they tell him it's evidence. Michael is visited by Milo, his lawyer, and says that he did not think that his friend would try on prison clothes. Michael says that he is accused of murder, but he remembers nothing. Milo leaves him a blood bag and leaves, forgetting his cane. Michael understands everything. A friend injected himself with medicine. Michael drinks blood, breaks through the wall, and escapes from prison. Milo comes to buy a newspaper, and the seller says Michael looks insane on the cover. Milo says not to judge people by their appearance and takes his life. Michael catches up with Milo and says his friend took the serum, even though he warned him. He says he was trying to protect his friend from becoming a monster. Milo says he killed that woman. Michael asks him to stop. Milo says that it is time for a friend to stop denying who they are and that they can go anywhere, do whatever they want. Milo shouts that he has looked up to Michael all his life and will not leave him, much less retreat. The guys start fighting, chasing each other around the city.
You think I'm joking?
Michael says it's not evolution, it's a mistake, but he'll fix it. Milo takes the life of the police on the subway and says that over him and Michael death hung for a lifetime. It was time for people to feel what it was like. Michael catches air from the train and flies into the tunnel. Simon tells Rodriguez to look after Martine. Milo stands on the street and looks into Martine's window. Martine manages to escape the pursuit of Rodriguez. Michael starts talking to her in the transport. He tells the girl that he did not take anyone's life and that he must stop Milo, who also used the serum. He says that he needs help. The couple comes to the cafe. Michael says that artificial blood now supports him, but when it stops acting, he will become like Milo. Michael hears two guys with fake money coming in and talking about a lab. Michael catches up with them and says he needs their lab. Milo walks into a bar and takes a drink. The girl at the bar starts talking to him. The guy says she's busy. Milo leaves, but attacks the guys when they leave the bar. Martine comes to the lab and sees Milo there. The guy asks if the girl knows where Michael is and says he wants to help him. Simon and Rodriguez come to Martine's apartment and see there a tray of the cat. But the animal itself is not there, like its mistress. Martine is in a new lab with Michael. The girl injures her finger, and Michael tells her to tape it up with a band-aid because he senses blood. The couple kisses. Milo watches them from afar. Simon and Rodriguez at the crime scene near the bar see on the cameras that the guys weren't killed by Michael. They say that bloodsuckers multiply. Dr. Emil Nicholas sees on the news the murders and thinks what Michael has done to himself, and then he sees a surveillance photo of Milo. Dr. Emil comes to Milo's house. Milo says he's reborn. Dr. Emil says he'll stay with the guy and takes out a bag of artificial blood. He says there should be no more violence. Milo is angry and says the doctor is always on Michael's side. The guy says Michael doesn't think he's like that, but he'll make a friend accept him. Milo shouts that Michael has always been a perfect, selfless, and favorite. Dr. Emil says he dedicated his life to Milo. He says that he is disgusted with what he has become. Milo says that you should not be ashamed of yourself. He severely injures the man and tells him to tell Michael that he will take as many lives as he wants. Michael makes a serum that kills bats and humans, 2 vials. He tells Martine that his window closes and he will have to drink human blood tomorrow. Michael says that he brought it to the world and he will destroy it. He asks the girl to leave because it is not safe here. Michael calls Dr. Emil and says he needs help. Michael arrives at Dr. Emil. The man tells him to stop Milo. Michael hears Milo talking with Martine and asks her to call a guy. Michael finds the girl by the echolocation and rushes to her. He finds the girl on the roof. She tells him to drink her blood so that everything is not in vain. Michael bites the girl by the neck and drinks some of her blood. Then he stands up and flies for Milo, who teases his friend. They fight. Michael screams, calling to himself bats. He attacks the opponent with their help. Michael sits on Milo and injects him with a deadly serum in his heart. Milo asks him not to take his life and says that a friend gave him his name. Michael says he remembers everything and apologizes to the guy. Simon and Rodriguez find a huge hole in the ground from which a flock of bats emerges. Martine opens her eyes.